Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shai Ba'Shem Rakah Kudash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone the Wall Well. And Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is Paya Allah. This is News and Prophecy and News. Update. The date today is for the 6th of July 2025. The hopeful year of death, destruction, deliverance, and judgment. All right, 2025, and we've been set up as watchmen over the house of Israel, to basically blow the trumpet and make you ready to the battle. All right, because we are in the last days. We've been in the last days for the last 2,000 years, but you might say, the last days 2000, but the big deal with the last days being that long of a time is the fact that Paul wrote of a falling away first, and we fell away. Now we're being woken up to the fact that we are the Israelites, which funnily enough is any time that we went into captivity, we forgot ourselves, all right, and we started worshipping after idols and things of that nature. But the Heavenly Father went a step further this go around, making it where we discontinue from our heritage. There'll be a great falling away in that altogether we're not known as Israelites, all right? But the time that we're coming into is basically where we will be known, that it will be shown that the records do say we are the Israelites, all right? And we're basically waking you up to that. We're stirring up your pure mind, all right? Because if you don't get it now, all right, then when it's time to get it, you'll be likened unto the parable of the 10 virgins, the 5 that are foolish, all right? When you want to, put fire to your wick and light up your candle, there's going to be no oil to keep it alight. So in those dark days, you're basically going to succumb to the darkness, all right? And those that have the oil, the light, the lamp of righteousness and truth will basically be preserved through that time. So basically get your oil, all right? So the reason for me doing this, the update, is just to update you with the things that are going on, current events, whether it's things I touched on before or any of the apostles, elders, brothers throughout the camps, have touched on, and just update on the things that's going on. All right, just showing you through the scriptures that we're getting ever more closer to that dreadful and terrible day. All right, so I got, as I usually do, have 3 articles. I'm just gonna go through them. I posted them on my page, or all 3. Or I'm gonna post one of them a little later actually. But yeah, these are things that I see posted. So I'm gonna go into it, Lord willing, filter it through the scriptures, and you be edified. So the first one we got is from the independent.co.uk, and the headline reads: U.S. expands militarized zones to 1/3 of southern border, stirring controversy. Annexed militarized zones will soon cover nearly 1/3 of the U.S. border with Mexico, empowering soldiers to arrest people who cross the border illegally. All right, and the reason why I posted this article is because we understand that there's a program, the 1033 program, that speaks about a militarization process with the police officers in the United States of America, Babylon the Great, whereby all of the defunct military weaponry, armory, artillery altogether is basically being handed down to your state and your local police. So it's bringing about a militarization of police. All right. So in that being done, it shows you that where the tune of your local police and a police state is basically heading, as far as arming the police to the teeth to establish an agenda within America. So with these militarized zones being established through the guise of illegal immigrants basically is, you know, I, this is just, being attentive to the things that are happening and to the tune of different things being put in place with, this like the 1033 program, and the fact that the scriptures say about talk about martial law. This is a method as whereby it can be established, all right, and as time goes on, expand and bring about the militarization of the whole United States. Because as you can see right now, ICE is going ham. They're going crazy, running up and down the country. I could bring up an article on that as well, actually, where they basically dispatched 200 Marines in um, a more recent one, yeah. There you go. So we can see there's a consistent expansion of military powers being utilized within America, and it really just shows you where everything is going. All right, as far as establishing power or bringing about, as you can see, it's basically laying the foundation for a police state. All right, and bringing about martial law, Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, all those things. Basically setting up the infrastructure, right, for the first time. So anyway, I'm gonna read into this, and I just, as the spirit compels me, I'll bring out scriptures and whatnot. So it says, orange no entry signs posted by the U.S. military in English and Spanish dot the North Mexico desert, where a border wall cuts past onion fields and parched ranches, with tufts of tall grass growing amidst wiry brush and yucca trees. All right, so this is the wilderness. All right, a no man's zone, so to speak, desert. The army has posted thousands of warnings in New Mexico and western Texas, declaring a restricted area by authority of the commander. It's a part of a major shift that has thrust the military into border enforcement with Mexico like never before. Alright, so this is a new thing. Alright, so it says the move places long stretches of the border under the supervision of nearby military bases, empowering US troops to detain people who enter the country illegally and sidestep a law prohibiting military involvement in civilian law. Alright, so you can see these things that are being established, alright, with these powers being put in place, are basically circumventing laws that have been, that are set up for the protection of the civilians of America. Damn, bear me 1 second, man. Fucking hurting the shit out of my neck. We gon' fuck this shit out. Fuck this shit out. Bang, 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 bang. Go ahead, man. Alright, man, so reading it again. So it says, empowering US troops to detain people who entered the country illegally and sidestep a law prohibiting military involvement in civilian law enforcement. Alright, so this is taking that militarization of the police to a new heights, whereby you're having actual military personnel involved on the US soil. It is done under the authority of the national emergency on the border declared by President Donald Trump on his first day in office. US authorities say the zones are needed to close gaps in border enforcement and help the wider fight against human smuggling networks and brutal drug cartels. Alright, that's the main talking point. But in reality, you're getting people that have been here, overstayed their visa. If you go by letter of the law, get rid of them people. They're going against the law. But if you really implement, you empathetic towards them, and you kind of go as far as what's sensible, you could just see that you'd probably just naturalize them and just say, well, you might as well naturalize them. They've been here for all these years. They're just working a normal, day-to-day citizens. Just let them be, all right? Or even if they do something bad, you can kind of say, because I've had this before as well, and I had a case they tried to bring up something that happened like 6 years ago, mind you. And they said, oh, the judge just kind of said, oh, that was too long ago, forget about that. So certain things, they wink at your past setbacks, because since then you ain't like a career criminal or someone that just the old bill ain't seen enough of you. Basically, you ain't that type of party, all right? But that goes against the agenda at hand, whereby they need to get the numbers, all right? And they need to make it look like they're really doing something, and it's on behalf of these things that are being said. Smuggling networks and brutal drug cartels, all right, that beheading people and all this different type of stuff. So the militarization is being challenged. Sorry, the militarization is being challenged in court and has been criticized by civil rights advocates, humanitarian aid groups, and outdoor enthusiasts who object to being blocked from public lands while troops have free reign. Abby Carpenter, a leader of search and rescue group for missing migrants, said public access is being denied across sweltering stretches of desert where migrant deaths have surged. All right, so they're more than likely being clipped. All right, maybe there are more deaths, but we don't know. She said, military expansion, two militarized zones from a buffer along 230 miles of border from Fort Hancock, Texas, through El Paso and westward across vast New Mexico ranchlands. The Defense Department added an additional 250-mile zone last week in Texas' Rio Grande Valley, and plans another near Yuma, Arizona. Combined, the zones will cover nearly one-third of the U.S. border with Mexico. They are patrolled by at least 7,600 members of the armed forces, vastly expanded the U.S. government presence on the border. Reaction to the military buffer has been mixed among residents of New Mexico's rural Luna County, where a strong culture of individual liberty is tempered by the desire to squelch networks bringing migrants and contraband across the border. We as a family have always been very supportive of the mission and very supportive of border security, said James Johnson, a fourth-generation farmer overseeing seasonal laborers as they fill giant plastic crates with onions, earning 22 cents per $22 per container. Military deployments under prior presidents put eyes and ears on the border, Johnson said. This version is trying to give some teeth. All right. So before they had more of a passive form of security, whereby they could gather intel, they're watching stuff, and they could hear the rumors, the hearsay. But that's as far as it goes. But now they're adding some bite to it all. So as far as when they see and hear things, now, you know, what am I doing? You can't see me. I'm what's it called? Gesturing with my hand. But basically, they can now bite down on everything. Yeah, see that bite down, that was with the gesture, bite down on everything, and cause it to cease. All right. So it really shows you it's ramping up, but this is in tune with the times that we're presently in. All right, in that the Most High is bringing everything to a fever pitch. All right, as we get closer and closer to that day of Jacob's trouble. That looks familiar. But some hunters and hikers fear they are being locked out of a rugged and cherished landscape. All right, so these are forming now, zones whereby it's it's a no-go zone. All right, I don't want to go down there with my hunting rifle and all of a sudden somebody rolls up on me and says that I'm in a military zone, said Ray Trejo. I believe it's Trejo, coordinator for the New Mexico Wildlife Federation and a Luna County commissioner. I don't know if these folks have been taught to de-escalate situation. Another point, and it's really for him to say that These points that being said are very, great points, because he wouldn't say them for no reason. All right, basically, it's a big takeaway, saying there's places where you can't go down to. All right, you don't want that to happen, but that seems like what's gonna happen. All right, even when we take into account what the woman said earlier about people dying, right, in rugged desert terrain, and there's numbers of people dying, but there's not a true grasp on who it how many there is, and then them even saying are they taught to de-escalate situations even speaks more to the fact that you know and I've seen videos of this in years past. I wish I could find the video, but the people that were freelance in terms of, you could say they're vigilantes in terms of parole patrolling the border were gung ho. Like they just seem like some yeah, is it yahoos, yeehaws, or I don't know what the word is, like a derogatory term to like trailer trash type Edomites. But basically, they just seem like some guys that they smash a couple beers, grab their rifle, and just go to work, go to town on whoever they see. All right, and that's why this is being said. Reminds me of the guy that in when they asked for people to volunteer in ID4. My name is I'm Dell Patson. I've been feeling together these aliens for thousands, since they abducted me, and that guy that basically was half drunk, just looking for a reason to get one up on them. All right. So anyway, reading on, it says a former public school teacher of English as a second language, Trejo, said military trespassing charges seem inhumane in an economy built on immigrant farm labor. All right. Let me read that again. So, a former public school teacher of English as a second language. So this guy, more than likely, is Mexican, and he has a different type of insight that shows you he don't really trust what's really happening. Trejo said military trespassing charges seem inhumane in an economy built on immigrant farm labor. Basically saying like you're doing too much. Right? These guys basically provide income or generate capital. Let me see. I just want to pull out the bits, the main parts of the article, because it goes on quite a bit. I don't want to read that much. I want to get into the scriptures. So it says, if the Army, Border Patrol, law enforcement in general are detaining people for reasons of transporting, of human smuggling, I don't have a problem, he said. But people are coming into our country to work, stepping now all of a sudden into a military zone, and they have no idea. Nicole Wyman, an Army command spokesperson, said the Army is negotiating possible public access for recreation and hunting, and will honour private rights to grazing and mining. See, they've locked it off. It's a private militarized zone. All right. So let's read about the consequence. Let me see how much. This article is good, man. It's worth reading it all, but for the sake of time, I don't wanna. I'll be here reading it for a while. So anyway, reading on, it says increased punishment. More than 1,400 migrants have been charged with trespassing on military territory, facing a possible 18-month prison sentence for a first offence. That's on top of an illegal entry charge that brings up to 6 months custody. 6 months in custody. After that, most are turned over to U.S. Customs and Border Protection for likely deportation. There have been no apparent arrests of U.S. citizens. At a federal courthouse in Las Cruces, New Mexico, on the banks of Upper Rio Grande, migrants in drab county jail jumpsuits and chains filed before a magistrate judge on a recent weekday. A 29-year-old Guatemalan woman struggled to understand instructions through a Spanish interpreter as she pleaded guilty to illegal entry. A judge set aside military trespassing charges for lack of evidence, but sentenced her to 2 weeks in jail before being transferred for likely deportation. She sells pottery. She's very sim. She's a very simple woman with a sixth grade education. A public defense attorney told the judge. She told me she's going back and she's going to stay there. All right, so this is what's going on. The main thing is the military. Um, damn man, military zone that's being set up. So let's go. Open. Um, Let me check the subscription real quick. Um, uh, da, 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 da. All right, says the second Ezra 15. I'll start from verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. All right, talking about divide amongst the people, which we're seeing right now as far as race, politics, the left and the right. All these things and even class. All these things are culminating to basically create a fever pitch. Everything being thrown into the mix, whereby you're gonna have people clash, and these things come into play. All right, verse 16: For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right, so people are gonna do what they feel is necessary to do. All right. A man shall desire to, and this is the main point of why I'm reading this. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right, and this is part of that. All right, these militarized zones being formed are based upon the guise of illegal migrants. Now, if they find out that there's a whole, like you've already seen with the Venezuelans, where basically they're taking over places. The main one I remember is Chicago, but I think the other place I heard was the Bronx. I can't remember. But you had the Venezuelans basically. I know it was up in New York as well, somewhere in New York, but they were applying pressure to everyone. Right, no one could keep up with them. It came like Castro unleashing the toilets of the toilet of Cuba on the people of America. All right, like Venezuela sent their worst, and they just got it cracking as soon as they got in the States. So this is the type of thing that we're seeing going on now that could lead to militarized zones being formed based upon them being too dangerous. There being migrants that basically they're human trafficking, or with drug smuggling. All right, but because of their pride, those cities shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. All right. Uh, I spelled mountain wrong, innit? Excuse me. I said this is prophecy that applies to this as well, man. Alright, because even this time that we're in, technically, agriculture, that might be what I was thinking of in Mike, actually. Technically, Micah 7. Is it 2 and 10? Yeah, this is Micah 2 and 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. Right. So mentally, we've already removed our minds from this place. That's why the image of the beast is the premise upon which will lead to the mark of the beast. All right. If you basically are in line with the image of this place, if you go after the way of this world, basically it's likened unto in Exodus the 21st chapter, whereby a man say, look, I love my master. I don't see no reason why I'd want to leave his house. So they take that. Oh, it's the same. You say to yourself, well, I love my master. I love my life. Give me that, digital all. All right. You need to have your mindset in tune with this world in order for you to go through. The mark is more or less like a token, a stamp of approval. It's the full proving of the full proof of your faith. All right, but what really makes that have its power is the following after the image of the beast. All right, but that's what's going to lead up to taking that mark. Whereby us, on the other hand, is that we've departed mentally from this place and we've adhered to the Heavenly Father. So basically, we're already out of this world. So when these things come into play, we're already mentally we're already in the wilderness, but the Heavenly Father will provide a way, depending, what is written for said brothers. But let me read this because I'm kind of breaking it down before I read it. Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Right. And this isn't, this came to pass on 2 previous occasions, dealing with the Maccabees and dealing with the Romans as well. But what we're seeing right now is, there's going to be something likened onto this, whereby we know, we need to get the fuck out of it. All right, verse 16. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. All right. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye, all right, and that really applies to those days, because in this day and age that we're in, basically women will be saved via childbearing. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. All right, but let me finish. I mean, that's good enough. I ain't gotta do no more. So let's move on to the next article. So this is going on right now. It's ongoing. All right. So this is from theguardian.com. Headline reads: Texas floods, death toll rises as search and rescue turns into grim recovery operation. All right. So let's see a little bit of this.
Things are getting dicier by the moment. We couldn't tell if the water was going to continue to rise. So I said, we need to get out of the house. So I grabbed my wife and we literally jumped in the water, and it swept us down to about 200 feet down that way. And there's a crepe myrtle tree that we grabbed hold of, and we waited for rescue. It was scary. It was really scary.
Oh no, Granny. I woke up.
Alright, man. So it says residents observe a day of prayer after 69 people killed and 11 girls and one counselor still unaccounted for. Alright, so funny enough, right now, we just had a fun storm over here actually, and it's been like, we've had sun like you wouldn't believe for a good stretch, like for probably like a month and a half. Unbelievable weather. I can't even tell you. Listen, I can't fucking complain. I'm just bantering. I'm playing around. But no, we've had good weather. But what we're in the midst of right now is Pride. All right, you can still see. I believe we are, because I still see people going out there. I'm near the inner city of London, so I see a lot of people still, looking the part as if they're going to celebrate it. But today, the level of rain that came down basically rained on their parade, and it's in tune with the spirit, because we understand the rainbow has been co-opted. I hope I'm using the right word. Co-opted. Yeah, co-opted. Divert to or use in a different role, different from the usual original one. Yeah, so it's been co-opted to basically co-opted. The rainbow's been co-opted from a memorial of the Heavenly Father's covenant with man that he wouldn't flood the earth no more after it rains, to the point of basically representation of Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, sodomy, you know, homosexual love. Simple way to put it is, we're gay, lesbian, LGBT, so on and so forth, which is wicked. All right, because that is the reason why the Heavenly Father, or that's part of the reason why the Heavenly Father flooded this place. And that's what's going to basically bring about the death of, that raining on parade, which is only going to bring about a rainbow, is to then again remind the people, but they're going to be willingly ignorant, all right, of the Heavenly Father's scourges that are being sent. So this is similar to, in a sense of, when this took place. I believe it was on July 4th, around that time. All right, so let's read into it anyway. Residents in Central Texas were observing a day of prayer on Sunday for at least 69 people killed and others missing in Friday's devastating flooding. As a search and rescue operation for survivors began to morph into a grim exercise of recovering bodies. Relatives continued an anxious wait for news of 11 girls and one camp counselor still unaccounted for from a riverside summer camp that was overwhelmed by flash flooding from the Guadalupe River, which rose 26 feet 8 meters in 45 minutes on Friday morning after torrential pre-dawn rain north of San Antonio. At least 59 people were confirmed killed in Kerr County, many of them children, with more fatalities being reported in neighboring counties. We are seeing bodies recovered all over, up and down. Kerrville City Manager Dalton Rice told reporters at news briefing on Sunday. Authorities say about 850 people have been rescued, and more than 1,700 people involved in the search and rescue. With more than so on and so forth, and search and rescue operation. By Sunday morning, water levels had fallen to just a foot or two higher than before the flood. Further rain on Saturday and into Sunday morning hampered search efforts of crews using boats, helicopters, and drones. The Texas Governor, Greg Abbott, promised responders would remain at the scene until every individual was recovered. He said the instructed responders to assume all missing persons were still alive. Alright. Um, wow, that's even deep. Camp Mystic. About 750 girls were attending a Christian summer camp along the South Fork of the Guadalupe River. It's crazy because why is it called Camp Mystic if it's a Christian camp, man? Anyway, read on. There's one article I had before. Might go into. I'll read a bit of it because I think it speaks to the point. Abbott said late Saturday that he had visited Camp Mystic, a popular Christian summer retreat for youth on the banks of the Guadalupe River in Hunt. The camp, which had more than 700 girls in attendance at the time of the flood, was overrun by a torrent of water sweeping away 27 that were initially missing. The number of missing from there by Sunday had dropped to 11 as the death toll climbed, so they climbed according to officials. Sarah Marsh, an 8-year-old girl from Mountain Brook, Alabama, who was at the camp, was found dead Saturday, as was Jane Ragsdale, director of nearby Heart O' the Hills camp, who was described by friends as a pillar of the community. It and the river running beside it were horrendously ravaged in ways unlike I've seen in any natural disaster, Abbott said in a post to X after touring the ruins of Camp Mystic with rescue crews. The height of the Russian water reached to the top of the cabins was shocking. We won't stop until we find every girl who was in those cabins. Man, it was described a lot better in another article. Let me try and find an article for you. Because it was to the point. And it's a point I just want to kind of relay. Where is it, man? It was an AP News, Texas. Man, where is this article? Nope. The hell? It has to be this article. Yes. It's a lot. If I can't find the point I was trying to read, I'll just move on now. Yeah, this is it. So I'll read this paragraph here. The destructive, fast-moving waters rose 26 feet 8 meters on the Guadalupe River in just 45 minutes before daybreak Friday. So this happened before the sun even came up. Within a time of 45 minutes, it got up to 26 fucking feet, right? 8 meters high. So that's like bloody four Kobe Bryant's, man. Four LeBron James high. Um, Reading on, it says, washing away homes and vehicles. The danger was not over as rains continued pounding communities outside San Antonio on Friday, and flash flood warnings watches remain in effect. Let's read this one. Um, Right, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read these two scriptures. Alright, so this is Isaiah 29:6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and flame of devouring fire. This is judgment from the Heavenly Father. Alright, this is what it is. And this is just more showing of the Heavenly Father's displeasure with America. Alright, having the children of Israel in captivity. And the more further we go on in this captivity, the more these things are gonna happen. Alright. So let me read this one as well. Oh, I know where that scripture is. So this is the book of Matthew 24:37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah went into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Alright, and some of these people, as it said, it was before daybreak, they would have had no clue as far as to what happened. Right, you can see how tall that building is, but the flood grew higher than that and just washed everything away. Alright, you heard about the old man speaking about he got swept 200 feet away, him and his wife, and they had to hold on to some branch at some point. So this is the Heavenly Father showing his presence. Alright. Yeah, so that's it. Go to this last article now. So this is from the Sun.com. The headline reads, Reign of Terror. Iran's medieval fatwa demanding Trump be crucified could spark homegrown terror attacks in West. Uh, shit. Terror attacks in West. Politicians warn. A sickening fundraiser has even been set up by a hardline Iranian clerk to hire an assassin to murder Trump. Alright, we've seen Trump get got at on multiple occasions. Alright, but also what you need to bear in mind is over here in the UK, you have the T area attack that happened 7/7, I believe it was 2005. I believe it was 2005, and because I'm actually watching a short series on it on Netflix right now. Actually, let's see how it looks. I'll show you what it is. Right there, yeah. So I've been watching this. 'Cause it's quite cold because there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I remember I was at college, man. I was at college. I heard, yeah, there was an attack. I was like, and no one was getting on no buses. I just stayed at college until I heard it was cool to jump on public transport. But I didn't really know when I actually hear what happened. Now I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that, right? But the point being is that it's all in season, all right? The fact that this is being said, and that happened, one of the biggest terror attacks in the UK on UK soil, all right? Whether they're planning it or not, it says a lot, man. Right, so it says Iran's medieval regime demanding Donald Trump be crucified could provoke homegrown terrorist attacks. Top politicians warn. Warped Ayatollahs issued a call to arms to Muslims, urging them to make the U.S. president regret his actions, branding him an enemy of the Most High, of God, should I say? That's just bloody hell. So it says fatwas, religious edicts have been leveled against Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu by senior mullahs under the Islamic Penal Code, Mohareb, waging war against God. Sharia law states that those charged must not only be killed but also tortured prior to death, including through crucifixion and limb amputation. Bloody hell. Senior cleric Nujamuddin Tabasi vowed Trump must be executed and said the same hand that fired a shot past the ear can put a bullet through his throat, referring to an assassination attempt last July. A sickening fundraiser has even been set up by hardline Iranian cleric Abdul Majid Karahani to hire an assassin to murder Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Right, and this is the funny thing because the sentiment as far as when the attempt was made on Trump's life, a lot of people in the Western world actually agreed with it, and they said, oh, they're upset that it didn't go through. So, there's a little bit of a gray area there because now, it really shows you that, and this sign has already been said that, you can be likened onto a terrorist. All right. So it says, let's see what else is there. Okay. So read from man. A statement shared exclusively with his son Bush Wallace and Tujun Tat said the Iranian regime's medieval and barbaric threats against the US president and others cannot be ignored and must not go unanswered. The US government and its allies should immediately sanction Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, his son Mujtabi Khamenei, and Makarim Sharezai Hamdani Tabasi, and Pananhian as special designated global terrorists. None of these men have been sanctioned today under counterterrorism authorities. Additionally, the U.S. Justice Department should seek indictments against these men, and American law enforcement should partner with its allies to request Interpol red notices for issuing threats to internationally protected individuals. The trio also urged U.S. authorities to conduct national security-based immigration review on named clerics, Iranian officials, and their families to stop them from traveling to America and allied nations. UAE has revealed that these senior Iranian regime rulers are in direct communication with individuals and entities in the West, including in the US and Europe, they added. Alright? So yeah, these are things that can basically lead to you know, the spotlight moving towards anyone being, any events happening and putting people under the scope. Like the documentary I mentioned, it basically shows you that they were basically going up to anyone that looked like a certain individual. People, the police were prepared, the feds were prepared to shoot them. All right, they said like if they felt like their life was in danger, they were told to give them a headshot. So it really lets you know what's on the line. So and then those people that they're talking about were innocent. They were just random people, and there was a lot of them. All right, so it shows you they're on edge, and anything can happen. All right, and these are things that can ultimately lead to the insurrection being made against us. All right, and I'll close on this. So this is 260 and 70. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Alright. Revelation 2 and 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt by the second death. Second Ezra 2 and 42. I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they will praise the Lord with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These are they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of the Most High. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them? And he giveth them palms in their hands. So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so swiftly for the name of the Lord. So with that, man, I pray you're edified. To the next one. Say shalom, shalom.